Alright, let's turn a wall hanger into a player. This one comes from the Vic Hucklebuck collection. You can tell that by the dust on it. This one's been a wall hanger for as long as I can remember, and I've been playing at Dude's Place for about 30 years, so I think it's long overdue for a fix-up. So we'll get a closer look at it here, and I'll show you what I got to try to fix it up a little bit. Alright, let's start up here at the headstock. You got this big fat harpoon shape, which almost looks like a peavey. So I wonder what came first, this or the peavey. You got tuners, which are pretty pitted and rusted, but they all function. So I guess that's just patina. I'm going to leave those. Got a string retainer coming down the neck. It's all pretty good except for this big chip out. So I think I got a fix for that. It might be long term. Coming down to the body, you got this kind of Strat, P-base shape. And of course you got this big single coil in here, which is not supposed to be in there. It's supposed to be like a bass pickup or something. You can see how wide that hole is there. Nice bridge cover down here. A little bit of pitting, but overall, nice patina. The pickguard, I think it's original to the guitar, but it was poor installation and poor measuring because it's really off up there. And it's kind of off down here. So you got a volume tone, input jack, and somebody's homemade ground there. So I think the best thing to do is take it apart. I'll show you what I got to try to fix it up. And yeah, we could take it from there. So let's do it. Alright, I want to show you what I got to fix this up. I've been watching a lot of toy repair videos by Dave at Toy Polloy, and he frequently uses Milliput, and I think that this would be a great place to use that. It's a two-part epoxy putty. You can get it in different colors. I get this in white. So I think once that's in there and I sand it down, and I can even paint it to kind of match this yellowed color, I think that'd be a good repair. But I don't want to just put that in there. I also want to have some stability behind it, so I was thinking of maybe gluing in a little screen repair patch in there, just a small strip of it, kind of like rebar and concrete, to sustain that. But I'll see how that goes. Alright, so down this end of the guitar, a couple things I want to do. First of all, I want to install some real bass pickups in here, get rid of the single coil. Second thing I want to do is cut a new pickguard for it, something that will fit those new pickups better and fits the body a little bit better. Third thing I want to do is I want to run this ground to the bridge correctly so it's not over top of the body. And then lastly, I think I want to put the input jack down here on the edge, because I'm not a fan of having the jack on the face, There's a joke in there somewhere. So I went to the Jungle Shop and I got some pickguard material. Matches pretty good, so we'll go with that. And for pickups, I had a couple of options. I have these here, which are in a Seymour Duncan case, but they're not Seymour Duncans. These came out of the X-Men's Cozart base, and I even wrote on here, stock Cozart, they suck. So those are out. I did have, from a 2000 Squire P-base, I have this loaded pickguard. So these have genuine Squire P-base pickups and the electronics. So we're probably going to go with that, and I think that'll work pretty good. And then we'll use these as a template to kind of figure out where my pickups have to go, and kind of make a combination of these two pickguards for my shape. But that kind of depends on what's under here as far as what I can do. So we got to figure out where we can route here and that kind of stuff. So I think the first thing to do is to start tearing it down. So let's do that. Alright, it's broken down into all its individual parts. The one of the knobs was like super glued on to the pot, so it ended up shattering when I took it off, but that's okay. I'm going to put new knobs on anyway. A couple things I did before I even started this video. I don't like to go too deep into the guitar before I start filming it. I want to learn it with you, but you know, I like to look for a serial number or some kind of identification, something that tells me what it's from. If it's a name brand guitar, I can probably look at an old catalog. But something like this, which looks like a department store guitar to me, I go to, it's a website. I'm not sure if it's Muse Technical or something like that, but I'll put the link up here and in the description. But basically you can look at over 100 years of department store catalogs, Sears, Montgomery Ward's, J.C. Penney. And they're browsable too, so you can open up one and search for guitar and it'll bring you all the pages with guitar. So I started in the late 60s, went up through the 80s. I can only find one guitar that was like this, and that was in an 85 J.C. Penney catalog. And it did have some differences. The neck, the body, and the pickguard looked the same, but there was a lot of other stuff that was different. A lot of the older department store guitars through the 70s had actually the Fender headstock. So, yeah, I don't know where it's from. If anybody recognizes this and knows where it's from, then that'd be great if you can let me know, because I don't know. And that bugs me that I can't figure that out. The second thing I did was try to figure out where I want to put these pickups, and I did some math and, you know, tried to figure out the best harmonic where it is down here, because, you know, if I use a P-bass pickup or pickguard, puts it way down here, and, you know, this is a smaller scale than a P-bass. So I kind of realized after plucking around with it, the manufacturer put that in the right spot. So that's kind of where, if that's lined up there, I want to go center of that, because that's where I was having the best harmonics. And so that's where the pickups will go, and they'll still be a little bit inside of there. I won't have to do too much routing, I don't think, either. I already know my depth here, just got to trace where it is. So let's see, I got some white foam board here. I want to start tracing. I want to do a combination of this pickguard and this pickguard, and I kind of want to use this pickguard for where it goes around here, but I kind of want this point over a little more to be more centered, and I want it to flow a little better with the body. And yeah, I think that'll be a start. So I'm going to put a lot of this stuff away, start working on this pickguard. Alright, I think I want to start by taking a tracing of this pickguard. Alright, so this is kind of remain my baseline for where the neck needs to be. Straighten that up a little bit. I want to make sure that this doesn't change and this doesn't change, so that I'm making sure that I cover up this hole right here. Alright, so I think I got this figured out. I kind of inked it in black where I wanted the final piece. Makes it a little bit fatter too. But the constants I'm going to be having here are my neck pocket, my potentiometer holes, and about where the bottom lines up. I also moved over this edge a little bit so that it sits a little bit closer to the center of this horn. So I think that'll be good. I used the P-bass pickguard to figure out where my pickups are going to be. So the next thing I can do is I can scan this in the computer. I can clean this up in Photoshop, And then bring it into Illustrator, smooth it out, make sure all my dimensions are good. And then I'll probably do a printout and cut it out just to make sure it's fitting where I want it. And then I can send it over to the carving machine. So probably going to be working on that, and I'm going to work on the neck a little bit. Alright, I got my 2 parts of Milliput there. I'm going to mix those together, knead them together for like 7 minutes. And then I can start pressing it in here. This little bridging that I put in here worked really well. And it's glued in there. It's nice and solid against the wood. So I think it'll make something really good for the Milliput to key into. But I want to protect it here a little bit. The top and the bottom. So every time I've seen the guy from Toy Polloi use this Milliput, he typically fixes the broken thumbs on 3 3/4 G.I. Joe action figures. And he always backs it with a piece of paper clip. Like he'll drill out the hand and put in the middle of the thumb and put in a piece of paper clip, and he'll glue that in, and that's kind of the reinforcement for this. But the instructions say that it dries rock hard and sandable, so that'll be good. That's the area I kind of want it in, so start mixing this up for 7 minutes, and then I can start pressing it in there. Alright, that's been about 7 minutes. I think I want to just kind of make a worm out of this. Start kind of pressing it in. Alright, that's a pretty good fill there. It says it dries in 4 hours. I think I'm going to check it like every hour. I don't know if I want it to completely go off before I peel the tape. I'll probably get some sandwich bags to wrap this up in. I don't know when the next time I'll end up using it, but really easy to mix up, so that seems like something I want to have here in my arsenal. And I definitely did mix up a little bit too much, but I made a little face. So see how that looks when it dries. So it's 24 hours later. That stuff dried up really good. I'm going to start sanding it. In the end, I left the tape on there so that I know where to sand down to. Once I get down to the blue tape, I'll probably take that off and maybe retape it again, because I really don't want to get into the back of the neck at all. The stickability on this stuff is pretty good. I don't know if I needed that backer in there, but like this little ball that I made, I just kind of dropped it there and it's stuck to the foam board, so that's pretty good too. So I'm going to start sanding this down, and we'll see what this looks like. That came out really good. I'm happy with that. I'm going to pull out some paints and I'm just going to try to blend it in using my little bit of knowledge about color. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it is on the bottom of the neck, so if I don't make it completely disappear, it's okay. But blending in is my goal. Alright, after doing some work in Illustrator, I got this paper template printed out here. If I bring in the original Pickguard, you can kind of see where my changes are. It's same here, same down here, but a little fatter here, a little fatter there. So I was thinking of doing some black Pickguard on it to make it look cooler, but I really wanted to keep the department store look, so I think I'm still going to go with the tortoise shell that I got. I think that'll be the best option. So I'm going to load that up into the X-Carve and start carving it up. Alright, I got the pickup cavities routed out. Really happy with that. I did that by hand. I'm getting better at it. What I did this time was clamped off 2 straight edges, the distance from the bit to the edge of the router guard, and I got a nice straight edge here and here. So, really happy with that. I usually make a freaking mess of that stuff. Also drilled for the input jack, and I drilled a hole straight up through here to be able to get the ground so it doesn't have to go over the body. I also went through the neck, and believe it or not, for the age of this neck, all those frets were like perfect. So I just taped off, polished them up. I did some rubbing compound on the back just to smooth it up, but that's ready to go too. Next thing I need to do is mount these pickups. So I'm going to put the pickguard in place about where it needs to be, and I'll screw it down with like 4 screws, and then I can mount these pickups about where they need to be, because these are just going to get screwed into the wood behind it with some springs. So nail this down and put those in, then I can clean it up, do some soldering. That worked really good. These are really tight sitting in there, like just where you want them. And I found a nail that was the same diameter as that hole, and used that as a punch to figure out where the holes get drilled. So that's good. I like that. Should line up pretty good. Alright, before I start assembling it, I want to give it a little clean up. It's pretty scuzzy. It's got what looks like a lacquer finish on it. I recently did a CBS era fender, and that had a lot of scuzz on it too. And when I looked into how to clean that, one of the best things they said was spit. So I didn't want to spit all over the guitar, and I don't want to spit all over this one, but just a little water will be fine. I don't want to spray it directly on there, so I'm going to spray it on a little rag and just kind of spot wipe clean down. Let's see how that works. Start down here where the cover covers it.
in a rock and roll band. I wanna be a body man. Play the drums in a rock and roll band. Gonna be your body man.
Alright, so I had a slight detour. All the screws I had weren't long enough to be able to give me the height that I needed on the pickup. The original cavity's pretty deep. These don't require that cavity to be so deep. Insert your own joke. So I had these long strips of maple that I might have cut off of some stretcher bar frame, and they were just the perfect depth to just give me a little bit more there. So I cut off some pieces, shaped them. I got my new holes drilled there, and I can go back to the shorter springs that I wanted to use in the first place and get these mounted. I think I want to install the base plate on the bridge. I do want to clean it up a little bit, but I figured I'd put that on to hold my ground so I don't lose that. Polish it up a little bit first, see how that takes. Nice. All that works. So put the pickguard on. There's a lot of room in here, so I'm kind of glad I left all this extra wire, especially if you have to pull the pickguard off again. It'll be easier to put out of your way if you've got to change pickups or something. This is my favorite part right here, because of course it's looked like ass up until this point. Some of these actually have 2 layers, so you're like, yeah, that one's the second, that's the first layer, that's the second layer right here. So you get pretty amazed by the first layer, and then you take the second layer off. I feel like I'm going 2 steps forward, 1 step back lately. I almost forgot about these little flags here that they have as markers, which I'm going to put back in there. I thought that was a nice little touch underneath the knobs. The trick is to get them both pointing the same way. Alright, that looks awesome. Alright, back to the gazillion screws here. Oh, that looks great. I have a whole bunch of crap here on my bench that doesn't need to be here. So I'm going to start cleaning up, and then I can get back to this thing. everything back together. You know, there's nothing I can really do about all this rust that's developing here. But, I mean, it's been there for as long as I've known. It's never not had rust on it, even when it was a wall hanger for 30 years. So, I mean, nothing really I can do about that. I did replace where I could hardware, you know, like all the screws here. And, you know, all the pickguard screws, of course. But I think that's pretty good. Now I'm ready to put some strings on it, I guess. You know, as usual, I'm always trying to be on a budget here. And this is no exception. I have these strings here. This came from the DIY bass kit, the Explorer one I did a couple months ago. And of course, I think I put Black Beauties on that one, so this is just gonna get these cheapo ones to start with. And maybe we can upgrade to something better if this plays really good. If you remember at the beginning of this, I broke off one of the knobs because it was super glued on there. So going through my stash here, seeing what I have that kind of matches. And, you know, we can go with white. Kind of bright for my taste. I got some black ones. They'll do. They'll do. And then I got these that were sitting around from a Les Paul build, which I really like. So let's see if it's turned all the way up. It's on 10. Yeah, I like that. Those look really good on there. That's thick.
Nice and light.
Well, that looks fantastic. Really happy with how this one turned out. And I find it much more appealing too. Like something you actually want to pick up and play. And it's super comfy. I think out of all the basses we have available to us at Vic Hucklebuck's Jam Room, this is probably the second most comfortable. It's probably going to be the worst sounding. These pickups were changed out of that P bass for a reason. It's because they're super quiet. But, you have them up high enough, it does the job. Maybe if this is the secondary bass, the backup bass, maybe we upgrade it if a lot of people are using it. Put something better in there. Who knows? I did find out what this is, which is kind of cool. I had said that I was going through all the Christmas catalogs and online, and I just couldn't find anything on it. Somebody had suggested I use Google Lens, and I had tried Google Lens before, and maybe I wasn't using it right, but it actually found that this is an Encore guitar. So I found this listing, which makes it identical. It says it was made in the Teisco factory in Japan in the 60s. But you know what? I don't think it was made in the 60s. I think it's newer than that. I think 70s, but I'm not sure. So if you know what year this was made, please let me know, because I'm very curious about that. But anyway, I'm going to get this back to the man. I want to thank you for joining me. Give me a thumbs up for filming it for you, and we'll talk again soon.
Play the drums in a rock and roll band. I wanna be a body man. Play the drums in a rock and roll band. Gonna be your body man. Play the drums for the rock and roll, rock and roll.